from a point 4.6 meters above the horizontal smooth floor. The coefficient of restitution between the ball and the floor is a half. Okay, so we understand the ball is bouncing, yeah? And then next thing, find the horizontal traveled before the first bounce. So we're looking for this green distance here. Is that okay? Okay, here's what we're going to do. Vx, anybody? What do you think? Vx is 4. Why is it 4? Stays at 4, doesn't it? Vy technically starts at 0, doesn't it? Because you're throwing it straight across. So it's u plus at, which is 0. Now, because up is positive, down must be. So it's negative Vy minus g t. I think I should change the decimals. Can anybody tell me why I should change the decimals? There's no mention of g in the answer, is there? So I'm going to use minus 9.8 g. So minus 9.8 t. And that's the reason I'm not using g, because everything else is in decimals. We good so far? What's my Sx? Huh? Sx is 4t. Yeah. Sy? Ut will be 0 minus a half at squared minus a half gt squared, which is minus 4.9 t. T squared, yeah, thank you. Now, is there any information they gave me about how far above the ground they were? Ah, there we are. 4.9. So call this, see this line here? That's s equals 0, because that's where you begin. So what happens when I land here? S equals minus 4. Why is it minus 4.9? You've gone down 4.9. And it's an SY distance, isn't it? So also we're going to say is that SY, which is 4.9 t squared, minus 4.9 t squared, is the same thing as minus 4.9 t squared equals t, therefore must equal 1. Now, if t equals 1, how far was the first bounce then? How far before we hit? Replace t with 1 for Sx, and what does that give us? 4. So is everybody happy that this distance here is now 4? Yeah? Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to figure out how fast did we hit the ground? Would you all agree we're coming in at an angle? We're coming in and then we're rebounding off the ground. Agreed? Okay. I know. Oh, you're welcome. Now, how fast is it going across? 4 across, yeah? How fast am I going down? Does anybody know? Vy we're looking for, so replace t with 1. Minus 9.8 down and 4 across. Now, which speed changes after the collision? The 9.8 is the one that's changing. How do I know that? Yeah, the barrier is parallel with the I direction, so you're going to be going 4 after the collision. And what you need to figure out is what is this velocity here. Everybody cool with that? Now, let's think about this logically. Okay. What's the E value for this question? E value of a half. So, what does an E value of a half mean? Whatever you're coming down with, you're going to only bounce up with half of it. So, what's half of it? 4.9. Everybody cool with that? Okay. Now, what's next then? Find the total distance traveled before the second bounce. Okay, we're going to do a brand new setup here. What's your Vx? Your Vx? Still 4. Your Vy? You start off with 4.9 moving upwards. but then gravity's going to play its part, isn't it? Minus 9.8 t. Your Sx for what? For t. Okay. I have an idea for this. Just give me a minute with it. Okay, and then after that, Sy 4.9 ut minus a half at squared. Okay, pause here. We're going to treat the second bounce completely independent of the first bounce. So what we can do is we can just say, look, at the start of the throw, we're actually not at minus 4.9 anymore. We can just now call this, we can call this 0. We can treat them as two separate questions. Everybody cool with that? Now, what happens at the end of the bounce? What's your S value at the end of the bounce? 0. Your Sy is 0 at both these points. So what can I do with the Sy equation? Put it equal to 0, yeah? So there's an equal 0 over here. Bring it over to your side. You're going to get 4.9t equals 4.9 t squared. All right, that's handy again. So what do we know about this one? Cancel one of the t's. Do you know what t we cancelled off? We cancelled off t equals 0. You're resetting the clock as well. So t equals 0, you're on level ground. Now what about the next part then? Divide under by 4.9 and you get t equals, means it takes 1 second to do your bounce. And then what do we think then? 1 times what? Sx, 1 times 4 times 1? 4. Do you notice in the diagram they're the same length as each other as well? If it was to measure them, they'd be the same length. 4 plus 4? 8. 8 meters.